What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Miss Azriel's Gaming. So we're jumping into another demo today that is part of the Choose Wisely Festival on Steam, and this demo is called Imperial Grace, and the listing on Steam is Imperial Grace's visual novel about romance, medieval intrigue, and political strategy. Will you rule with your head or your heart? Now, if you know me, you know my channel. I love medieval style things. I like the look of the Empress that we have here, and I'm really looking forward to jumping into this demo. So let's go ahead and we're going to start a new game. It says this game is intended for a mature audience. It contains many themes that could offend the sensitivity of younger players. The complete list of trigger warnings is available on our store page. Excuse me. You are going to play a demo version of the game, thus the content might be subject to change and some features may be missing, such as the diplomacy feature. Okay. Yeah, show me some tips. You know what? Let's learn how to play. I need to know how to play. Okay, so click anywhere on the screen to progress in the story. Use your mouse wheel to go back even after a choice. You can fasten the text display in the settings. Several accessibility features are available in the options for your gaming comfort, especially if you're dyslexic, photosensitive, or epileptic, so don't hesitate to check the corresponding functions. You can check your resources from the extra menu at any time. Have fun. Best tip of all is have fun. So you'll have infinite resources. Normal mode, you will need to spend your resources. Let's do story mode. Oh, and we know my name will be Azriel. Okay, so let's see. We have Blessed by Basan. You have loved fighting since you were a child. Although you were not allowed on the battlefield, you're in excellent physical shape, and your swordsmanship rivals that of a man. Blessed by Amatera. I believe that's how that would be pronounced. When you were younger, you almost became a scholar. Your love of reading and learning has given you knowledge in many fields, including astronomy, theology, and botany. So you get starting bonus in religion. Army with that one. That's what I figured it was. Excuse me, but I thought we would go back and check it. Blessed by Horel, you've mastered the art of diplomacy and eloquence. You can improvise inspiring speeches in an instant, and you know the first names of every noble of over 3 generations. Okay, starting bonus in influence. And then we have Blessed by Meridi. Numbers and resources management hold no secrets for you, and you have excellent relations with merchants. Are good at mental arithmetic and know all the subsidies of tithes and other taxes, not only from Caladia, but also from your neighbors. Hopefully I'm pronouncing these things correctly. So your bonus start is to money. Well, I like to be diplomatic and charismatic and things like that. So we're going to pick Blessed by Horel. Okay, now I did find this really cool. There is a slight customization ability in the game. I really like that. I think that's neat. A lot of visual novels, they don't give you that choice. You can also pick Freckles, Beauty Mark 2, Beauty Mark. I mean, you could use all of them if you want to. That's pretty cool. Okay, the hair type, contrary to the hairstyle, cannot be modified during the game and will be taken into account during illustrations. Okay, nice. So we can have straight, wavy. Ooh, different types of wavy. Ooh, I like that. I like the braid. Oh, these are cute. Oh no, I'm going to spend hours doing this. Ooh, I like that. I like the curly. It's kind of like how my hair is in real life when I do not straighten it. Then you have dreads. I like that. Those are cute, too. And then the straight. Let's see what the regular straight is. Ooh, I like that one a lot. Oh my goodness, I can't pick. I like that one, too, because of the hairband or the hair tie, whatever you want to call that. I do like the braids, but I love that one. But I like the wavy, too. Oh no, Dev, why have you done this to me? I'm going to take forever. Like, I spend an hour creating characters when I have the ability. I'm really bad when it comes to The Sims. Like, I'll start playing a game and I'll be like, oh, I want to do a new family. And then, like, I'll start making the characters and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that probably did take me. I like sat there for like an hour and 30 minutes designing a character. I'm really bad when it comes to that. Oh, but that's so cute. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with the straight one because I really liked that hairstyle there, and I like that one too. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I like that one too. And then just the base. We're gonna do this one. I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna go with this one. Ooh, nice heterochromia. So we can actually do two different colored eyes. I love that. Brighten it up a little. Could do green. That is really, really cool. I give you props on this, Dev. This is very cool indeed. Testing out the heterochromia for a close friend of mine. But I will probably do one solid color. I do like green and blue. My eyes tend to go green, a little more green. I have hazel, which you don't see hazel eyes too much listed on anything anymore. But every year my eyes get a little more green. So we'll do green. I like the green look. There we go. Darken them a little bit. Okay, I think that looks good. We got our hair, we got our skin, and we picked our civility. We have our name. I think she looks good. Let's confirm. Okay, customizations on the screen will not be reflected in the illustrations. The match option adapts your outfit to the illustration, not the other way around. Okay, to change your outfit during the game, click on Extra and Outfit. Oh, okay, so we can change our hairstyle for night. Oh, that's cool. I like that. So let's say we have our hair pulled up. Oh, that's quite fancy. That is quite fancy for nighttime. Nightgown given to you by Miranda, a palace servant. She made it for your 18th birthday so you could incorporate the pink ribbons your mother had given you. Oh, that's sweet. Dressing gowns made from pure ombre silk, or ombre silk, and is the softest outfit you'll ever own. Okay, well, let's pick that one. See, hopefully that just, yeah. For casual, yeah, we'll leave our hair the way it is. The simple but elegant dress belonged to your late mother. Your father gave it to you for your 16th birthday and has always loved seeing you wear it. Inspired by Meridian peasant dresses, this modern dress, despite its expensive red dye, is very pleasant to wear, especially in summer. Oh, I like that one. This extravagant dress, created by one of Meridian's greatest courtiers, was given to you by Marjorie for your 18th birthday. I like that one. But I like this one too. In Meridian, they call this type of dress a husband maker. That is indeed a husband maker. You know what? That one would be too, to be honest. I do like this one. The just kind of like the basic. Oh gosh, there's more. This dress with pure gold thread embroidery was worn by Queen Melistri the First for her coronation ceremony. It is a national treasure which is passed from generation to generation but barely worn because of its weight, symbolically and literally. God, that's gorgeous too. Oh, Dev, what have you done to me? There's too many. I can't pick. I'll probably have to change my outfit constantly. It is said that during the Great Liberation, Helena, a slave, protected her sister by killing her masters and then continued to wear this dress, whose long sleeves were soaked in their blood. Since then, the style of dyeing has become widespread in Vargas, inviting the nobility to a certain humility. Oh, I like that. Just the story based on that outfit. I love the look and I love the story. It sounds very Game of Thrones-ish. You ordered this inappropriate and extremely flashy outfit out of solidarity after a countess criticized Rebecca Feinlame's warrior outfit. That's cute. That's cute. I like it. I love this one. A gift from a former ambassador of Vargas, because you reminded him of the famous Daphne, a heroic figure of the Great Liberation. Now, granted, it's pants. I feel a queen should wear a dress, but next to the husband maker, this is me. If it was in purple, completely me. I have to pick that one. We got jewelry. Oh, Dev, you have spoiled us. This is amazing. I mean, it does already have a necklace, but I feel like that kind of looks good with it too. Maybe without. Options unlocks after your coronation. Oh, okay. Okay, so we haven't been coronated yet. Got it. Okay, we'll go without it because we do have a necklace. Now that's funny. It's got the green and orange eyes, but yet it has my green when it loads in. That's so funny. Now okay, I wanted to make sure that was just the two. And my formal attire, we'll leave our hair that way. Or no, for formal, we'll do our hair this way. Okay, and it looks the same. So maybe for formal, we'll do the we'll do that one I like. Or should I do that? No, we'll do this for a formal. We'll wear a dress for formal. Ooh, that goes with it. That one's pretty too. Because that goes with the bodice. Yeah, I like that. Oh, I like this one too. But I like this one a lot. So we're going to go with that. I love it. It's still holding the heterochromia I look in the base, but then when I click on it, it gives me the green eye, which is so funny. It fits so well. Okay, switch outfit to match illustrations. Start of the scene, the illustrations, the game will automatically switch there. Okay, so we're gonna go with that. Okay, only used for the combat specialty. Titular ruler, God Basan. Okay, so Oop. All right, so let's confirm it. We got the prologue. Your Grace, Your Grace. A panicked voice resonating in my dreams like an echo, a few moments before I understood that it came from somewhere else, and spoke up with a jolt, disoriented. The palpable feeling of urgency had immediately brought me to my senses, but it still took me a few seconds to recognize the advisor's voice, as well as the room I was in. Alden, what's going on? Your Highness, I bring terrible news. Your father was assassinated last night. I was ready to hear just about anything. Managing crisis was an important part of royalty, after all, and yet I was completely stunned by the news. My father was dead at the hands of an assassin, just a few rooms away from mine. All the implications from this revelation bounced through my head, drenched in doubt and fear concerning my own security and the future of the realm of Chaldea. I beg your pardon, Your Highness. I was too late. Oh. Pulling myself out of the lethargy, I looked down on Alexander, who knelt next to the bed, his head bent low as if the weight of his shame stopped him from getting up. Whatever went down, I knew he had nothing to be ashamed of. When I was just a child, I already admired his talents, and they grew steadfast with age and the position of general. His presence here was a relief. I didn't know the assassin's full attentions, but even if they were after me, as long as Alexander was by my side, I didn't have anything to worry about. Don't put yourself down like this. You aren't responsible for what happened. We'll bring the regicide to justice. Still mortified, Alexander stayed on his knees. I could see his fingers twitch a little, proof he wasn't completely convinced, but he nodded his approval all the same, transported by the firmness of my voice. As for me, now that I had said it out loud, I felt the information had settled in my mind, and I finally accepted it as truth, with a full understanding of the situation. My father, Magnus V, Emperor of Chaldea, was dead. Many would have broken down after hearing such news, but for years now I hadn't held an ounce of affection for him. His death was actually good news to me. It marked the beginning of a new era, a better one, I hoped. an era for which I'd been preparing ever since I realized that this was my destiny. I was to succeed him. I was to become the Empress. But it wasn't yet time for celebration. Although I was the legitimate heir to the throne, I had plenty of detractors, and I still needed to figure out why the assassination had taken place. I had many questions about the killer's identity and motives. I was lost in thought, and it took me a while to realize that Alden and Alexander were staring at me, worried, surely awaiting a reaction or a declaration from me. Both had known me since early childhood. They knew the enmity I felt for the Emperor, and I trusted them enough to set all pretenses aside. But it was perhaps a bit inappropriate to rejoice over my future title while my father's dead corpse was still warm. After taking a deep breath, I threw off my covers and got up, eyeing them. Rejoice, pretend to be sad, stay neutral. After taking a deep breath, I threw off my covers and got, okay, I mean, I don't know if she can pretend to be sad. But I don't want to celebrate it either. That's kind of sick. I get, like, some people aren't close to their father. I'm very close to mine. So, that bothers me even thinking of that being a choice. But, I get it because she, stated she had no affection for him. So instead of pretending, we'll just stay neutral. Gloating seemed a tad indecent, but I could at least spare myself the pretense of being the grieving orphan that I would surely need to be in front of the court. What I feel isn't important. You don't have to worry about me. What matters most is our nation, and we all know that the sudden death of an emperor is a delicate situation. At the moment, the most important thing is to preserve the kingdom's stability. I'm counting on you to protect and serve me. This won't be an easy task, but I'm sure we can accomplish great things. This time Alexander got up, putting his hand on his sheath in a dignified and military posture. At your service, Highness. May the four witness my oath. I solemnly swear that I will protect you until my dying breath. Empathetic, he bowed down before lifting his eyes up to me. I smiled and accepted his allegiance with a certain poise, despite my unkempt hair and my nightgown. Marjorie, my tutor, often told me that everything about me showed nobility, that I didn't need any props to act like an empress. Today, I understood what she had meant. Alden, however, didn't seem to share the general's fervor. Forgive me, your majesty, for tarnishing your enthusiasm, but there is a very delicate question that I have to ask. Have you had your father killed? His abrupt question threw me off, and I stared at him, wavering between surprise and indignation. How dare you even suggest such a possibility? You're going too far, advisor. Come on, don't be offended. You said it yourself. You hated your father since the death of your brother. You've always held him responsible for it. And your father dies on the very day of your return to the palace? Whatever your answer is, I'll accept it, but I need to know. I felt anger rise within me at these words, and I walked to the window to breathe some fresh air. After I took a few deep inhales, I finally turned around to face him and gave him my answer in a firm voice. On the one hand, my presence here isn't a coincidence. The Emperor celebrates, or rather, was about to celebrate, his birthday in 2 days. Half of the Empire's noblemen are here. It's undeniable that the event presented the perfect opportunity to strike. The palace is swarming with unknown guards and servants. It's much harder to provide security in these circumstances. Exactly. On the other hand, your suspicions are an insult to my intelligence, advisor. After a regicide, the heir is always suspected. If I had really wanted to speed up fate, you better believe I would have been smarter about it. Marjorie taught me the rules of the game. I would never ask losing anything in such a foolish way. Or never risk losing. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk today. I know my ascension to the throne will already be difficult because I'm a woman. I'll state it plainly if it can relieve your doubts, but listen closely because I will not repeat myself. No, I did not have my father assassinated. My eyes trained on him. I crossed my arms, almost daring him to contradict me as I kept a lid on my fury. Alden seemed to gauge me for a moment, then nodded in assent and apologized. Please forgive me, Your Grace. As soon as possible, I'll alert the Master of Murmurs, and will launch an investigation to uncover the truth and bring justice to your father. I would have preferred more vivid regrets, but under the circumstances this was enough, and I felt my anger slowly fade away. I accept your apology. Let's not speak of this again. There are more urgent things to do. The news will, no doubt, make quite a commotion. You've asked us to swear allegiance to you. I assume you will try to claim your rightful place as heir, Your Grace? Yes, I've always wanted to become Empress. Yes, it's my destiny. Let's say yes, it's my destiny. I heaved a deep sigh and mustered all my determination to answer him without leaving any doubts as to my intentions. I realized a while ago that this was my destiny. Whether I like it or not, I don't really have a choice, and I'm not one to do things half-heartedly. I know there aren't many people in the direct line of succession, but if you truly don't want to, I believe one of your bastard brothers would do the trick. You know full well that my cousins would covet the position. This would mean the start of a succession war that would drown the kingdom in fire and blood. Even if by some miracle the nobility came out in favor of one of my half-brothers, there's no guarantee that would all go well. They know nothing of politics. They'd be nothing more than puppets or even worse, incompetents. By birth, I have a responsibility to the people of this country, and I don't intend to shirk it. In any case, even if I were to retire to my state to manage it, I would still be a potential threat to their reign. I'll be safer, even if I have to completely relinquish my right to the throne. There's no doubt about it, I have to be the next Empress. Only time will tell, but I think I am the best possible choice under the circumstances. I don't doubt that, Your Grace. In fact, I'm rather relieved to see you have already thought about it. Like you said, our country needs stability. We can't get away with a weak-willed monarch on the throne. I'm sure you'll be a wonderful Empress, Azrael. His words were barely a whisper, but I was sure of what I had heard, and I felt my cheeks redden a little. He seemed embarrassed by his own boldness and blushed more violently than me, while I flashed him a smile to reassure him. It had been years since I had last heard him call me by my name. Even if I had no doubts about my own abilities, it was also refreshing to see the trust he gave me. I cleared my throat and regained my composure so I could give my orders. This would be a long night. Who else knows about the assassination for now? Alexander seemed surprised by my question and frowned a bit while searching his mind. When I found the body, I immediately went to warn the advisors, and both of us rushed to see you. The only ones who know about it are the guards who were patrolling with me and your father's personal maid who was passing by. We knew it would be bad to attract attention, so I had her discreetly sent to the dungeon for interrogation. How about the guards who were stationed before my father's door? Both are dead. I had also had their corpses taken to the dungeon for examination. I paced the room, lost deep in thought. We've done well. Now we have to keep it all a secret. Or, you've done it well. Now we have to keep it a secret. It's imperative that no one else hears about it. Your Grace, this won't be an easy secret to keep. Obviously, we won't be able to do that forever. I only need a few days so I can stay ahead of my detractors. Alden looked thoughtful for a few moments, then he nodded. I see. So you want to act before everyone else, which should give you the upper hand. Exactly. Very smart. I have no doubt that some people will want to take advantage of the situation. Even if you are unquestionably the rightful heir, your place will be fought over. But if you don't give them the time to react, that could make things a great deal easier. That's what I was thinking too. I'd love it if the situation was more straightforward, but this is a little white lie, and the alternative is the chaos of widely disputed secession. Alden nodded, and I continued developing the rest of my plan. In the meantime, pretend that His Majesty is not feeling well and investigate discreetly. I see. I'll order my men to stay silent. I'll also ensure that they haven't said a word so far. About that, it might be wiser to ensure that they can't talk at all. Low-grade staff is known for its gossiping, even the guards. My men are trustworthy. They would never disobey. Would you be willing to bet on that, if it could jeopardize the plans of your new Empress to whom you have only just sworn allegiance? And that maid, can you also guarantee she'll keep quiet? His teeth clenched, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. Alexander shook his head. The weight of Alden's words have also fallen heavy on my shoulders, and I observed both men while contemplating my next steps. This decision is yours to make, Your Grace, but I strongly advise you to silence them for good. Alden was right. The most effective way to ensure someone stayed quiet was to have them killed. However, there could be other alternatives to consider. Such a decision couldn't be taken lightly, because whatever I decided, I couldn't afford to regret it. Okay, so cost is I own military. Now, I think it said we had unlimited in story mode. But you would have to watch what you have. Okay, so I can have them killed. We'll pretend they were collateral damage of the assassin. I'm sorry, Alexander, but we cannot afford to take any risk. Ensure their loyalty by promising them a much better position once I'm crowned, even if they were really tempted to talk about what happened. This should be a good enough motivator to assure their allegiance. Or when you explain to them that they mustn't say a word, give them a few coins and promise them more once the secret has been revealed. And in the meantime, send them on a vacation far away from here. That should be enough to guarantee their silence. Okay, so since I focus on diplomacy, we're going to go with this one. I saw Alexander sigh in relief and Oh my goodness, why? Imperceptibly loosen up. Words are hard. Alden, however, shrugged and bowed to me. That could work, yes. Time will tell. I have faith. Besides, if I am right, I'll be surrounded by trustworthy people, which is always useful. I had spoken with determination, perfectly hiding my own doubts. Humans are unpredictable in nature. It was a bet, and I could only hope it would pay off. In any case, even if the servants talked and the rumors escaped, I still had my chances. The advantage I was building would be precious to me, but it wasn't the only weapon in my arsenal. Can I count on you, Alexander? He straightened into a military stance and immediately bowed. Of course, Your Grace. I will do my best to convince them. You've made the right decision. Without further ado, he bowed once more and left the room with a heavy step. Alden seemed to be lost in thought for a moment, giving me time to come to my senses before he bowed down in turn. I must at least inform the Master of Murmurs of the situation, so that we may launch an investigation. I nodded, aware of our lead spy's discretion as well as his efficiency. Once that is done, I'll come to you to plan the rest of your ascent. Once more I nodded in approval, glad to be offered a little interlude that would allow me to gather my thoughts, and to dress decently while I was at it. After all, even if the coronation hadn't taken place yet, deep within me, I knew it, I felt it. I was the Empress. Chapter 1, Long Live the Empress. Spring, Day 8, morning. The sun had now been up for a few hours, promising a beautiful day, but I knew I wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Now that the rush of adrenaline from the news had passed, all I had left were doubts on the days to come, which were going to be exhilarating as much as terrifying. I was gambling my future, along with Chaldeas? I think that's I don't want to say it wrong. Chaldeas? Chaldeas. I think it's Chaldeas. I think. I don't. We're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. I'm sure I'll probably change it multiple times because I have a tendency to do that. So we're going to do that. And that was a big deal. I'd spent the past few hours readying myself and refining the details of my plan to appease my latent nervousness as best I could. But that didn't help me shake off my main preoccupation, the servants. Like Alden had said, I had made a risky decision, and I had been torturing myself for hours, wondering if it was worth it. I was restless when I heard the knock, and I leapt to the door, opening it for Alden and letting him in. Oh, excuse me. My voice is going there. There, Your Grace. We have followed your orders. I hadn't seen that he was accompanied by the Master of Murmurs, who came in after him. A slight discomfort washed over me. It wouldn't wash over me. I like a man that looks like that. Just saying. His role inside the palace was vital, but since I was a child, I had been terrified of his hidden face and the mysterious aura that surrounded him. Oh, yes. I'm liking him. I know the dev had mentioned to me there are multiple love interests. I got 2 so far. I can't choose. Nevertheless, my discomfort turned into amazement when I saw him remove his hood as if it were nothing and turn to face me. My brain had pictured the worst for years, and it was very unsettling to finally be able to put a face to that man. I realized he wasn't as monstrous as I had imagined. In fact, I was so shocked that it made me forget the reason for my visitor's presence, which seemed to greatly amuse the Master of Murmurs. Is there a problem, Your Grace? Oh, it's just, I didn't know that you could show your face. To be honest, I do what I want, but in principle, I only remove my hood in the presence of a sovereign and their close collaborators. Though I like to entertain the mystery and anonymity that come with the job, it would be far too dangerous for me to reveal my face. Some people might use that to usurp my identity. I see. Though it was disconcerting, it was also rather reassuring to see that a man as important as the Master of Murmurs already acknowledged me as his sovereign. Alden cleared his throat to recall me to my duty, and I suddenly remembered the reason for the 2 men's presence, which immediately made my anxiety flare up. To keep myself from staring at the master spy, I faced the advisor and fully focused on him. Did everything go well? My anxiety must have been conspicuous, even if I was doing my best to put on a confident expression. The servants seemed convinced by your offer. They left the palace without complaining, so I suppose we can count that as a win. Despite all that, it's been a bit early to be sure of anything. I gave the Master of Murmurs and Alexander the task of keeping a close eye on the situation. The Master of Murmurs slowly nodded in assent. Well, we'll know more tomorrow, but for the time being, there's nothing more to report. I lifted my eyes to meet my advisors and flashed Alden a reassuring smile. Clearly, he read my emotions better than I had thought, and I couldn't allow myself to visibly waver at such a critical time. I know that, and what's done is done. Now we must focus on the future. Bring the high priest to the council room. I need him to contact the quadrator. Robert is a pious man. Are you sure it's a good idea to confide in him? Everyone likes to think the devout never lie, but one doesn't obtain a place like his without cheating a little. I admit that the idea of lying to him came to me for a fleeting moment, but to fool him would be a complex task, and I'll be needing his support when the time comes. The people put great stock in men of faith. Very well, Your Majesty. Will that be all? Yes, thank you. The murmur guy can stay. Spring, day 8, afternoon. You summoned me, Your Grace. Yes, thank you for coming, Robert. I gestured for him to sit down while I settled behind my father's imposing desk. Like I had predicted, my behavior made him lift a curious brow, but I pretended not to notice it. I won't beat around the bush. My father, the Emperor, died during the night. Clearly, we had done a pretty good job at keeping that a secret since the shock on his face seemed genuine. Well, I mean, he didn't just die, he was assassinated. What? But how? And why am I just learning about it now? I need to pray for his soul. I tried to appease him with a wave of my hand, inviting him to sit back down since he looked like he was about to get up. He was murdered. For the time being, we're keeping his death a secret so we can investigate without causing any sort of panic. It was the Master of Murmur's idea. He's convinced he'll be able to find the assassin more easily this way. Drowning in information, the high priest slumped into his chair and took in half-truths, while I assumed a saddened expression. It truly is a tragic situation. Keeping quiet and hiding my mourning is a very hard task for me. I know it's a lot to ask of you, but you need to keep this a secret. I want to do everything in my power to uncover the murderer, especially since I'm scared he could come after me. Once more, I was quite proud of the quivering in my voice, and my acting seemed to be effective since I saw a spark of compassion light up in his eyes. I understand now why the general was guarding your door like a common soldier. With a closed expression on my face, I nodded, searching for the right words. The first and main reason I'm summoned you here, is so that I could confide in you and ask you to pray for my departed father's soul. Of course, Your Majesty. I'll lock myself up in the great temple and dedicate myself to the task. My face still sad, I gave him a tight, grateful smile, but inside I felt relieved. His prayers should keep him busy enough that he wouldn't be tempted to reveal anything. Now I could move on to the true reason of his presence here. But before that, this saddens me, but I have another favor to ask of you. Of course, Your Grace, what is it? Well, Alden and I are afraid that of all the upstarts across the kingdom will rush to the castle and try to usurp the throne as soon as my father's death is made public. In their greed, many forgot that my line sits on the throne by the grace of the four, so I'd like to send a letter to the quadrator and have him support my coronation as well as reaffirming my legitimacy. Once more, he stayed silent. I tried to hide my worry behind a veil of sadness. I hated that my plans depended on a single person, but I didn't have a choice. Only rulers and high priests could hope to quickly reach the ultimate leader of the cardinals, and I technically wasn't Empress yet. I understand, yes. You're Magnus V's only legitimate child. The throne should be yours. Now, I am curious because they mentioned a brother. I'm assuming he was older than us, and I'm curious if we're going to eventually learn about how our father died, because it said that she blamed the father for the death. So I'm very curious how that was going to go, because more likely he was probably going to be the emperor. That said, I don't know if the quadrator will approve of your advent. Perhaps if you were married, your candidacy would seem less inappropriate. I felt my body tense up at his words, and it took all I had to conceal how irritated I was by this reminder. I knew I would be told such things. I had mentally prepared myself for it, but obviously it hadn't been enough. Yes, it's an issue, yes, and I'll do my best to find a fitting husband quickly. But you'll agree that I cannot entrust the throne of Caladia to just anyone. I have plenty of suitors, but I need some time to study each and every one of them. That's not something that can be done in just a couple of days or even weeks. In the meantime, we do need someone to lead the country and make sure it doesn't sink into chaos. And if a regent were to be appointed, I'm afraid he might refuse to give the throne back to me and my husband, which would lead the whole country to a bloodbath. No one wants to see another era of murderous plots like during Magnus III's time. You're right, Your Grace. We cannot let such a tragedy befall us. I'll go write a letter to the quadrator right away to express support for your coronation and explain our situation. Satisfied, I let out a sigh of relief. Thank you for your support, High Priest Robert. It means a lot to me. Swiftly, I opened one of the desk drawers and pulled out a thin, sealed letter. While I was waiting for you, I humbly wrote a few words destined for the Quadrator. We've never met, and I hope this would help him get to know me a little, as well as reassure him of my faith in the Four. I was thinking that perhaps you would be so kind as to add it to your correspondence. Once more, he seemed caught off guard, but he smiled instantly and enthusiastically. Of course, Your Majesty. It's a great idea. Relieved, I gave him the letter in question while thanking him once more for his support and his help in these unprecedented times. I only hope he didn't have the audacity to break the seal, because even if it did contain a few cliches of my virtues, the letter mostly made promises that could actually motivate the Quadrator. Okay, so we have two choices here. I knew that gold made the world go round, and so I promised a hefty donation to the Great Temple of Meridian. Knowing his taste for luxury, I knew that he wouldn't be insensitive to a few more riches. And then we have, having always known that I'd need his support one day, I had used a few resources at my disposal to observe him closely, and I had learned something that could stain his reputation. So, of course, that's what we chose in the beginning. I'm going to pick that one. Indeed, I discovered that he was responsible of a death, a woman who worked in Meridian's great temple. I would have liked something a little more concrete because from what I had been told, even if he was directly responsible, even if he was directly responsible through negligence, it wasn't a plot that would make the crowds go wild. Only the fact that she was a woman of faith played in my favor and explained why they had wanted to conceal the incident in the first place. At least I had gathered enough details to make him believe I was an exceedingly well-informed person. I was certain that the desire to preserve the reputation along with the proof of my knowledge would be enough to convince him. To play with a man as powerful as the Quadrator, and I wasn't talking about his possible connection to the gods, but his actual worldly power, was a risky move, but it was all worth it. The dice had been cast. I could only hope for things to go well and prepare the field for my conquest of the Calidian nobility. Okay, spring, day 8, evening. Despite my desire to act for the time being, I couldn't do anything but wait for the Quadrator's answer. Even if the letter had left that morning, Meridian was far away and I knew I couldn't hope for an answer for at least 3 days. I had to chomp at the bit and act naive. My first thought was to mingle with the court so I could clear my head, but then, pretending that nothing was up and feeding rumors to justify my father's absence was more frustrating than doing nothing. Even Marjorie's presence irritated me despite her advanced age. As soon as she turned her inquisitive eyes onto me, I had the impression she managed to perceive the truth. And so I had taken refuge in the library, hoping to read a little. But in all honesty, even if I managed to unscramble a few words, my thoughts were far away and my mind was replaying the events of the previous night, asking myself again and again if I had done the right thing. Your Grace, as if he suddenly realized where we were, the Master of Murmurs repeated his interjection in a lower, albeit just as zealous, tone. Your Grace, we have an urgent problem on our hands. This preamble was enough to make me abandon my boring reading, and I put down my book, ensuring there weren't any indiscreet ears in the library before I invited him to continue. After he also made sure no one else was around, he pulled back his hood and resumed his explanations. As you know, I've asked to keep an eye on the 3 people aware of your father's death. However, barely 24 hours have passed, and I have been told that the maid immediately went to a noble, the Baron Tobin of Lavalius, Laval Lewis, instead of leaving town. Lavalois. I'm gonna butcher these names. I conducted an investigation and I'm almost positive the two are in a relationship. I've interrogated her colleagues who confirm that she's had a rich benefactor for a few months already, and everything hints at his name. I didn't really care about my servant's romantic endeavors, but I wanted to know where he was going with this. Are you afraid she'll speak? Yes, and I'm afraid the Baron will want to use that information to glean more power. Is he trying to blackmail us? No, we've had nothing of the sort. But tonight he's holding a party to which half of the nobles currently in the capital are invited. That cannot be a coincidence. No event justifies for such a party to be improvised. It's improper. I admit the situation is very odd, but do we have any proof? Unfortunately, no. Majesty only suspicions. I took in a few deep breaths while I pondered the situation and calculated the risks. If these allegations happen to be true, I would be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not only would my plan to gain time fail utterly, but everyone would know of my deception. Moreover, if she didn't speak, now that I knew of this maid's allegiance, I wasn't sure it was a good idea to give her a better position down the line. That would give her more opportunities to spy on me for the Baron. What are our options? There aren't many, Majesty. Either we do nothing and wait to see what happens while preparing to counteract possible rumors, or we have them both assassinated to limit any risk of leaks. But the Baron is an influential man. There are far fewer chances of a death passing unnoticed than that of a simple servant. Tired, I massaged my temples to help me think about the best course of action in this situation. Death was most definitely the best way to stop someone for talking, but the reason I wanted to avoid such methods in the first place was because they disgusted me, and they could well have unwelcome repercussions for me. Would aligning myself with the Baron be a possibility? It's true that this information will give him power, but not as much as having an Empress owe him a favor. I think it could work, but do you really want to start your rule indebted to such an ambitious man? That was indeed the risk. I could always double-cross him once the danger had passed, but that would be undeniable. But that would undeniably have after effects. Do we have an idea of what he wants? I'd like to know what I'm getting myself into. If I had a few days, I could have been able to tell you, but I can't answer you in time for the party. Sighing once more, I closed my eyes to better contemplate my options. Okay, so this is a free choice. When one plays, one must expect to lose. I'm ready to accept the consequences of my actions, even if it won't be easy. I'm afraid trying to fix things will only make them worse, and I don't want to fall into such a vicious cycle. I'll wait to see what happens. We should prepare as best we can for what's to come. This would be with military and diplomacy. I despise having to resort to this solution, but because the servant hasn't been trustworthy, I don't have much of a choice. Have them murdered before tonight and make sure this can't be traced back to me. Otherwise, consequences would be even more disastrous. And then here's diplomacy. Right now, what matters most is to solve this issue. If the Baron demands more than he is owed, after all is said and done, we'll decide what to do with him. But he might behave reasonably, which would mark the start of a fruitful alliance. We won't know until we try. We at least have to attempt to reason with him. So I'm going to pick this one because that was what I had decided to go with. I'd like to share your optimism, Your Grace, but the Baron of Lavalios never seems to be a reasonable man to me. Well, in any case, I bend to your will. Since Advisor Alden is more adept at this sort of negotiation, I will inform him and let him lead the discussions. Nevertheless, I'll stay at the ready in case the Baron refuses to listen to reason. Very well, I'm counting on you. The Master of Murmurs gave me an elegant bow and departed, leaving me alone once more with doubts gnawing at my mind. I waited for the end of the day with more nervousness than usual, unable to concentrate, fearing the arrival of the Master of Murmurs as much as I hoped for it. Spring night, day 8. It was already late when Alden knocked on my door to inform me of the evolution of the situation. I was convinced a man like the Baron would be in favor of some arrangement, but there were so many things that could go wrong. Your Grace has spoken to the Baron of Lavalios, who turned out to be quite stingy with his information. To my greatest shame, I'm unable to tell you what he knows exactly. He's remained very vague on the subject, but he clearly hinted at having information that could harm you. I did as you wished and suggested that if he supports your ascension to the throne, he'll have your eternal gratitude. He accepted in principle, but he seems to doubt that you intend to uphold your side of the bargain. He's asking for a guarantee. A guarantee? Alden nodded with a sigh. He wants a document written and signed by your hand to make this alliance official. I couldn't blame him for doubting my honor. After all, I had considered breaking my promise if the price to pay for upholding it was too high, but what he has asked me for was impossible. I can't do that. That would mean admitting to my schemes. At the moment, all he's got is the word of a servant and no proof that I'm directly involved. I won't hand it to him on a silver platter. I wholeheartedly agree with you, but those are his terms. Exasperated, I took in a deep breath before grabbing a sheet of paper and some ink from my desk. I'll write him a letter in which I declare that I owe him a favor for services rendered, without giving any details. This should be enough to prove my goodwill, and if it doesn't suit him, it means deep down he never wanted to commit to this arrangement in the first place. We won't have any choice then but to use your methods. Very well, Majesty. I'll bring it to him right away. Thank you, Alden. I'm sorry to use you as a courier. It's beneath you. He gave an amused laugh. Oh, you'd be surprised, Majesty. This has often been my exact role. I dozed off, seated at my desk, when someone knocked at my door once more and I woke up with a start. So, Alden, how did it go? It seems he had spent hours on the task, which was rather worrisome, but he had come back without the letter I had written. He accepted this compromise. For the time being, he doesn't want anything in particular, but I trust him to let us know when he's ready to claim his favor. And the party? It must be in full swing at this time of night. I don't know if his main goal was to harm you, but in any case, he had another excuse ready. He announced his engagement to a noble from Vargas, Dame Lilia of Velentum. I nodded with a sigh. I didn't know when this would all come back to bite me again, but at least the situation was under control. Thank you for your help, Alden. My pleasure, Your Grace. We'll continue to keep a close eye on him, but you can relax for now. Smiling, I nodded, aware that I was in dire need of sleep after so many strong emotions. Spring, day 10, morning. Your Grace, this is a little premature, but should you become Empress, you will need to manage the kingdom's policies. I'd like to make sure that you're ready for such a task. I am. We just skip the tutorial or playthrough. Okay, so one can always learn more. As you already know, the kingdom's policies influence how your subjects, noble or otherwise, view you, but also what resources will be available to us. You can set tax rates for the people and the nobility. As you may have guessed, the higher they are, the less happy the people will be, but the faster the coffers will fill up. But there are many other things, much more subtle. For example, you can decide how open to trade or borders should be, or which sectors of the economy you'd like to focus on. We must also consider how to protect ourselves from our neighbors, especially bearing in mind Vargas's warlike inclinations. But maintaining an army is very, very expensive. As such, investing in diplomacy may offer better results in the long run. And finally, we have to manage the priest. Their influence on the people is immense, and they have infrastructures all over the nation. Offerings made to them are never wasted. We've set up regular periods of time during which we collect earnings, but there will be a short delay before the consequences of any changes you can make be seen. The story alternates with phases of gameplay which are triggered between two scenes. During these phases, you will be able, among other things, to modify your kingdom's general policies. Gains will be distributed at the end of the gameplay phase. Is that clear now? Yes, I understand. Explain it again. I didn't quite. No, I think I understand it. So, yes, even if it's all very theoretical. That's true, but the very best way to approach the subject in a more concrete manner is to look into it yourself. Even if I'll only be doing this work after my coronation, may I try my hand at it now? I'm sure there are things that I'd like to change in my father's policies. Okay, so taxes, moderate, the people understanding you receive a moderate amount of money. If you go low, the people will be happy, but you'll earn a little money. If they're high, the people will be angry, but the money will flow endlessly. Okay, so we'll keep that at moderate because you do need taxes. I'm not going to lower it. That's not, very smart to do. Now, granted, we do have unlimited resources, which I believe is money, so it might not even matter. But we'll just have to, wait and see how that plays out. Okay, economy. So resources, your economy will be focused on exploitation of raw resources. If you do crafts, you will focus on craftsmanship, especially luxury items. Farming, your economy will be focused on agricultural and food production. Okay, focus on craftsmanship, especially. Craftsmanship might be pretty good. Gives me a bonus to money, too. Although farming raises for the people. Although we might have something here else. Let's see. So we don't want to do resources because that's minor the people. So we want to keep the people pretty happy. Crafts makes the nobility happy, but we might also have something else that makes the nobility happy at some point. So maybe we should do farming, but I'm assuming this comes up every now and then and we can kind of change it. That's what it sounded like. So we'll do farming for now. Offerings, you will help finance a good part of the temples and academy. Oh my God. Academies across the realm. So that's a religion +2, -2 money. If we do a high for that, you'll help finance the majority of the temples and academies across the realm. Low, you only give a meager financial contribution to the priest. I kind of want to do a high that is less money, but we have endless resources, so we could kind of just test that for now. Let's do a high on that. The army, because we're at, 999, so money's not a problem right now. You will probably maintain your current army. If we dismantle it, your armed forces will reduce, but they will be cheaper to maintain. That's silly to do. If you expand it, you will recruit new soldiers to expand your army. We're going to expand, because we have to, get ourselves ready in case somebody comes after us. Small taxes are levied on products traded between countries, so that's controlled. If it's restricted, heavy taxes are levied on products traded between countries, so we get +1 money, but minus for the nobility. Controlled is minus goods, but +2 money. If it's free, foreign traders can freely come to sell and buy in Caladia. I'm going to call this country so many names. You know what? Let's make it free for now. Although that's -2 goods and that's minus goods. But we earn a lot of money and it boosts the nobility. So you know what? Let's go with that. Okay, so diplomacy, you will send at least 1 ambassador to each neighboring country, +2 influence, -1 money. If you do minimum, you only send ambassadors and diplomats when necessary, which negates our nobility over here because it's a -5, +1 influence. Active, you will send a full delegation to all neighboring countries. We're going to do that. So we're going to go with that. That sounds most excellent to me. Okay, and there's our little boost there. So it's spring, day 15 morning. Your Grace. Dawn had barely risen when I heard a kerfuffle at the door. Oh, I love that word, kerfuffle. And I immediately recognized Robert's voice. I got up with a groan and quickly slipped on a dress, trying to make myself presentable before opening the door. High Priest, what's going on? I tried to remain as neutral as possible, but I was burning up with a mix of anxiety and excitement because I had a solid guess as to what this was about. The Quadrator. He answered, Your Majesty. Nervous, he handed me 2 letters bearing the recognizable seal of His Holiness. Your name is written on them. I didn't dare open them, Your Highness. Exhilarated, I looked at the 2 pieces of paper that were about to seal my future. One seemed official, while the other was explicitly for my eyes only. I would have liked to have been alone when reading them both, but clearly it had taken Robert all he had not to break the wax seal on the official letter, and he now stared at me impatiently. My throat was dry as I grabbed a paper cutter to open the correspondence, and my heart was beating so fast I had the impression everyone in the room could hear it. Ooh, I like how they're doing this. Okay, Lady Azrael of Tierenfell, daughter of Magnus V of Tierenfell, the fierce, Emperor of Calidia. Yeah, it has to be Calidia. The 4 have spoken and have recognized you as the legitimate heir of the crown of Calidia by virtue of your blood and despite your gender. By this decree, I convey the word of the gods. May your governess be respected by all the just and the pious. May your rule prosper and never stray from the 4's faith. Was it Vinmir Quadrator by the grace of the 4? Could be Werner. Vinmir might be Vinmir. I mean, he should. I'm boosting the priest. Giving them the highest on my chores list there on my rules and policies. I was shaking so hard I felt my legs give in, and I had to sit on my bed so I didn't fall over. I had done everything in my power to make this moment happen, but now that it was upon me, I was engulfed by all emotions I had accumulated in the past week. Robert seemed to understand me, and he bowed to leave me a few long seconds so I could take in the Quadrator's words. Finally, he spoke up. That's marvelous, Your Majesty. I knew the 4 would acknowledge your legitimacy. Almost timidly, I nodded and tried to recover my usual composure. With the Quadrator's support, my coronation was sure to happen, but that didn't mean I was rid of enemies or other contenders. I couldn't let my guard down yet. Yes, the time has come for everyone to know the truth. Gather the nobles in the castle at dawn and prepare the pigeons. He nodded, a grave expression on his face. Yes, we can't wait any longer. The secret of your father's death couldn't have been kept indefinitely, in any case. It was true that his absence had been going on for a while, and a possible illness worried people just as much as possible death. It was fortunate that these letters hadn't taken too long to arrive. I'll be there. I need to finish getting ready. Of course, Your Majesty. All the bells rung, but at such an early time, I don't suppose we can gather everyone in less than an hour. I approved with a polite nod, and soon I watched him leave and close the door. Finally, on my own, I collapsed on the bed and let myself gloat. I whooped in pure childish joy as I read the Quadrator's letter over and over again. I knew that I had plenty of challenges ahead of me, but this was my first victory against tradition, and I intended to savor it for as long as I could. Only after a few long minutes had passed did I decide to open the second letter, which was addressed to me personally. I was going to say this, I was wondering what was in this one. Lady Azrael of Tyrannfell, be aware that your threats cannot shake the faith that the believers have in me. Only my wish to preserve them from potentially bloody conflicts has guided my decision not to be offended by your contemptible lies and to support you despite them. Keep in mind, nonetheless, that I don't appreciate these methods, and that you have made yourself a dangerous enemy, Lady Azrael. One cannot defy the Four with impunity. Vernmer, Quadrator, by the grace of the Four. He won't be the first person to be an enemy of mine. I got up with a sigh and held the parchment over a candlelight long enough for it to catch fire before throwing it into the cold fireplace. I had expected a reaction of that sort. I just preferred not to leave behind more traces of my methods than necessary. Needless to say, I didn't regret a thing. Even if he acted unconcerned, I fully believed that my threats had helped to sway him. Now it was the court I had to sway. I knew this wasn't going to be an easy task. Okay, spring, day 18, afternoon. Make sure not to overexert yourself, Azrael. You're spending your days locked up in this office. You should get out a bit to clear your head. Come take a walk with this old lady. I'd left the door open, and although I hadn't heard Marjorie come over to me, I wasn't surprised, since her perfume, which she applied to liberally, had filled the room. I almost felt nostalgic for a moment. I like her outfit. That's cute. Contrary to what she seemed to suggest, I wasn't here for pleasure. I was overwhelmed. Invitations, solicitations, promises. I'd spent the last 3 days flattering Chaldean nobilities to ensure that nothing would interfere with the coronation in 3 weeks' time, and I still had a lot to do. Oh, perhaps you can fool everyone else, but I know you're far from being an old lady, Marjorie. My reply made her laugh, a hoarse and joyous sound that belied what I had just said. Oh, I still have the same quick wit I had when I was 20, but I'm afraid my whining bones disagree with you, sweetheart. Come on, don't be cruel. You already broke my poor heart when you didn't let me in on the secret. I put my quill down with a sigh and closed the inkwell, hoping its content would not dry out. She had taught me many things, and even if I had grown stronger than her in a few areas, it was obvious that she still used guilt like no one else. She almost made me feel bad for hiding my father's death from her. She sounds like a mother figure because moms are really good at guilting their children, especially their daughters. You know full well I didn't have a choice. The information had to be disclosed to as few people as possible. I know, sweetheart, but I would have liked to have been there for you. These past few days mustn't have been easy. No, they weren't indeed. As promised, I quietly walked by Marjorie's side through the garden, but we couldn't take one step before some servant or noble offered me their condolences. I'm so tired of pretending to be sad. I know your father was a flawed man. She paused, looking at me as she seemed to hesitate to say something. I looked at her intrigued. There was so much contempt to her voice when she spoke of his flaws that she obviously knew something about him, something I probably didn't. But no matter what anyone says, he was your family, your blood. You shouldn't hate him like that. It's not healthy, especially now that he's dead. I sensed her tone that I'd get nothing more from her, at least not today, and I didn't insist, draping myself once again in my indignity. No, that's too easy. You can't just die and expect that all your mistakes will be forgiven. It's not as if he chose to die. And so, it doesn't change anything. She sighed, and I decided to change the subject before I had to listen to another lecture on the importance of family bonds. But since we're speaking of forgiveness, I need your help. Suspicious, she frowned, although she kept walking calmly between the flower beds. I would like it if you gave me Fircastel. The old dilapidated fortress. What for? Pretending to admire some insects that were flying around the planters, I hesitated for a second. I needed the fortress to buy the Faram's loyalty, but Marjorie held a deep hatred for them. I didn't like lying to her, but I couldn't run the risk that she'd refuse my request. Tell her the truth, even if she won't like it. Keep things vague. I mean, in all honesty, she'll find out eventually, so shouldn't we just tell the truth? So we'll go with telling the truth. I need it because I'm going to give it back to Ferem. Upon hearing my words, Marjorie froze, trembling with anger. You want to give back to those vile traitors? Do you know how many men died storming it? Do you know what this fortress cost me? I knew she would react that way. Even though the war had ended about 20 years ago, she still bore painful memories of it. Yes, I know all that, but it all took place before my birth. It's time we move forward and reconcile with the Faram, lest we repeat the mistakes of the past. I don't want another Faram revolt under my rule. I need their support for my coronation, and to obtain that support, I need Faircastle. You know just as well as I do that it's only a ruin now, an old pile of rubble left on a steep, barren land. It's nothing more than a symbol. My old aunt grumbled for a few long moments, but she was forced to concede my point, even if it cost her. Do what you want, but believe me, once you become Empress, I'll call in the favor. Thank you, Marjorie. I knew I could count on you. Relieved, I finally let out the breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Knowing the affection Marjorie held for me, I knew that I'd end up convincing her, but as I had a meeting with the Faram heir in 4 days, I didn't have a lot of room for errors. With one less issue weighing on my heart, I continued my walk with a bounce in my step, forgetting for a few minutes the court's problems and plots. Okay, spring, day 22, afternoon. Ooh. Oh no, I'm in trouble. This was my first time ever meeting Theodore Faram. I had heard him described as a cold and distant man, but I still didn't expect him to be so glacial. I mean, that would work out perfectly. He's obviously from another kingdom or something like that, so it would put us together real easily and unite our kingdoms, and then they won't ever attack us again. I waited for him to deign reply to my greeting, as courtesy demanded, but the silence between us was deafening. He only stood there, staring at me, impassive, without even so much as a good morning or a nice to meet you, while I had to keep smiling not to lose face. I mean, if a good-looking guy like that stared at me for, just long hours and didn't say anything, I'd probably be okay with it. I had better things to do than engage in a staring contest. Consequentially, I swallowed my pride and gestured to one of the chairs around the staff table, where a large map of Chaldea had been laid out. I imagine you must be tired after a long trip. Please sit down. I thought he was going to stay standing there, but he did finally sit down without another word, while I took a seat not too far from him. Like I said in my letter, I'd like for the Tirfarel and the Faram to reconcile. The tensions between our families have lasted long enough, and I imagine your sudden desire to make peace has nothing to do with your upcoming coronation. The Monteliet are eating out of your hand, but the Valdor will never support you, which means you very much need us. Coming as he was from a lineage with a somewhat barbaric reputation, he'd done a fairly clever analysis of the situation, but I didn't let that stop me. Very much need is a bit strong. Should I remind you that I have the support of the Order and by extension the Four, the people will follow me. That said, I do wish for my coronation to go as smoothly as possible, and the rest of my rule as well. I'd like to avoid bloodshed altogether if possible, and I fear that the ancestral enmity between our two families might lead us to just that. Neither you nor I were born when the Faram revolt took place. It's up to us to decide if we want to perpetuate this cycle of conflict, or if we want to build something new. He took on a thoughtful expression and observed me with renewed interest. It's easy for you to forget. You're on the side of the victors. You have been rehashing your resentment for 20 years. Precisely. Wouldn't it be easier for you to forget as well, especially if it's been haunting you for that long? Even if we're inclined to consider your offer of reconciliation, how could we trust you? I won't give you a history lesson, but that revolt didn't happen for nothing. He was following me exactly where I was leading, and it took me some effort to repress a smile and keep a businesslike countenance. Firstly, I'm not the same person as my father or my grandfather. It's unfair to distrust me as a result of their actions. And secondly, I'm ready to make a gesture of goodwill, if the Faram are ready to make one as well. I'm listening. If you openly support my ascent to the throne, I'm ready to return your family the Faircastle citadel and the lands that go with it. This time, I savored the true surprise in his eyes when I handed him the deed I'd taken the time to prepare. As you know, it was confiscated after the revolt. Since it's located at a strategic crossroads between Terranfell and Monteliet, I thought it would be a strong gesture to return it to you, but also quite a symbol of trust. After glancing over the signed pledge, Theodore looked at me once more, with defiance this time. There's no doubt that my family will appreciate the gesture. I was already basking in my victory when he continued his cold voice. But as for me, it only makes me see that you're one of those politicians ready to use every dirty trick in the book if it will give you what you want. I had been warned that you're the rightful heir of that snake who used to lead Monteliet, and now I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So yes, indeed, we will accept your offer and support your coronation, because unlike you, we stick to our word. But you should know you're not fooling me. I'll remain at the palace to make sure you don't stab us in the back as soon as you've achieved your goals. In the end, his analysis of the situation, or indeed of my character, wasn't as clever as I had thought. I was ambitious, there was no denying that. I wasn't shy about it either, but my desire to make peace was just as sincere. Stay at the castle if you wish. Dukes are welcome here at any time, but you'll get eaten alive by the court if you always speak your mind so plainly, my lord. He shrugged condescendingly before getting up. Oh, I'm very capable of defending myself, Majesty. I just choose not to use the same venom as you do. That doesn't mean I don't know how to protect myself from its sting. No one liked being called a snake, but even if it was unpleasant to be treated with such hostility by someone to whom I have never done anything, I'd gotten what I wanted. I didn't wish to risk making him change his mind by starting an argument. Time will tell. I do hope you'll change your mind about me, but as long as the Ferrum uphold their end of the bargain, you're free to think whatever you like. Don't say that as if you're doing me a favor, Your Grace. Even empresses don't have dominion over people's thoughts. And in order to keep me from having the last word of our pointless sparring, he immediately turned on his heel and slammed the door. You know what? That makes him the perfect love interest because we hate each other. And then, we're going to fall in love. I like stories like that, love stories. I always find those more interesting because it takes a lot for you to like each other. So I'm hoping he's a love interest. Furious, I was engaged in deep breathing exercises when Alden walked in. How did things go with Theodore of Ferram? I shrugged with a sigh. I suppose it was all right. At least the Ferram should support my coronation. That's all that matters. How about you? Did you manage to convince Leon? As you suspected, he's not inclined to support you. Apparently, he and his brother fear that Caladia will become a second Assyria. I raised my eyes to the sky, not hiding my exasperation at these words, as if it were enough for a woman to lead the empire for us to become a matriarchy. Have you at least convinced him not to openly oppose the coronation? Yes, as you suggested. I implied that a civil war wouldn't be good for business and that you were easy to manipulate. Was that enough? Yes and no. The man's smarter than I thought. He took this as an opportunity to claim the position of treasurer. Treasurer? Look at him go. Since he believes you're incompetent, he thinks that's the only way for him to ensure that the country stays on the right track and that the Voldor's economical interests are preserved. Upset, I bite my lips while I ponder the implication of such a nomination. I didn't want him to stand in my way at every council meeting, but there was no valid reason for me to refuse him this privilege either. I imagine before asking for that position, he encouraged the current treasurer to retire. That's correct. A pretty house by the seaside is waiting for him, and now he can't wait to be gone. I imagine we don't have a choice then. I'll summon Leon tomorrow and pretend to be a naive ingenue who's happy to let him take on big responsibilities. I sighed heavily, and Alden stepped towards me with a discreetly amused smile. Are you sure you'll manage? Manage? Playing the easily influenced ingenue. I sighed, offering him a reassuring smile. It would not be fun having tea with such a conservative man, but there was nothing insurmountable about it. Don't worry about me. I can play dumb when I need to. I've spent my whole life appearing less dangerous than I really am. I should be able to pretend just this once. He might have some nasty surprises down the line, however. He nodded with a gleam of pride in his eyes. I trust you then. Spring, day 25. What, not night or day? Your Grace, news of your nomination to the throne has spread quickly. We've received a letter addressed to you from the Queen Mavia of Issaria. I probably butchered her name. My respects, Empress of Clydia. I wish to write to you so I can congratulate you on your recent nomination to the throne, as well as offer my condolences for your father's death. Assuming power is a heavy responsibility, but I have been told that you are very capable, and I know that Clydia is in good hands. Clydia and Issaria have always maintained solid diplomatic relations. I hope that they will continue, nay, prosper under your rule. Up until now, the matriarchs have always been opposed to non-commercial negotiations, but your nomination has made them curious. We dare to believe that in your presence, my emissaries and myself will cease to be subjected to the patronizing condescension that your predecessors invariably displayed, and that my country's past rulers so weary of further interactions. The gods whisper to me that your ascension to the throne signals the dawn of a new era for the continent. Therefore, I wish to support you as much as I can. With the matriarch's assent, I have decided to mandate an emissary whose role it will be to liaison between our two nations. Her name is Asha Isabis. She is an exceptional woman who I hope will be welcomed into your palace as she deserves. With all my sympathy, Maeva, Queen of Issaria. That's wonderful news. I'll need as many allies as possible during my rule. Indeed, diplomacy is a delicate art, but it's fundamental for Cladia's prosperity. You'll need to woo the neighboring countries and ensure their goodwill towards us. But we'll talk about that later, since diplomacy is not available in this demo. But we'll talk about that later. For now, we have a coronation to organize. Now, in the beginning of the demo, they did the dev did say that might not be in there. So spring day 36 afternoon. I hope they include it because I'm very curious how the diplomacy works. And I mean, it could just be even something like you get 3 tries during a day and you can only talk to, so many people that are your neighbors and you can interact with them and stuff. I mean, that would be an easy way to do it. That's kind of how I would go. And then you can interact with them and stuff like that. That would be kind of fun. The big day had finally come. Impatient and nervous, I paced my bedroom while checking my hair and my outfit for the umpteenth time. Nothing was easy as per usual. I was supposed to display poise, elegance, and grandeur, all while remaining humble. Oh, all right then. Despite all that, I felt ready and dignified, and I only waited to hear from Alexander, who would escort me since my father wasn't in a state to do so. Time was passing by at an infuriating slow pace when finally he knocked and walked into the room, clad in his ceremonial attire. That armor and the pompous cape that went with it didn't suit him, and I suppressed a smile when I saw him squeezed into it. I mean, I think that looks really cool. I like the look, and I like that they changed his armor. Like most games like this, they'll just, they won't change for things like this, and they, just describe stuff and they leave the character the way it is. I like that they chose to change him into a different outfit. I like that a lot. Ready, Your Grace? Almost timidly, I nodded while he politely bowed to let me pass in front of him. Then he followed suit, respectfully walking one step behind. Her Grace Azrael de Tyrrenfell, Princess of Caladia, Duchess of Tyrrenfell, Lady of Vermont, blessed by Hornell. I closed my eyes and savored this title that I was hearing for the last time. When the herald would announce me next, I would be Empress of Caladia. I didn't remember having ever seen the throne room this packed. Clearly, when I had been told that the entire castle had gathered here, it hadn't been an exaggeration. To try and hide my nervousness, I walked at a slow pace, my head high, my eyes leveled at the throne. But my curiosity slowly got the better of me, and while I tried to remain as dignified as I could, I let my gaze wander discreetly in search of familiar faces. Alden, of course, stood right next to my throne, his face impassive, but his eyes bright enough that I could see the pride reflected in them. Robert was there, too, my future crown already held in his hands. He did his best to appear as imposing as his function required him to be. In the noble section, I recognized Leon of Villador, surrounded by his family, conversing with other nobles who were vaguely familiar to me. To my surprise, I also spotted Theodore, leaning against a pillar, his gloomy aura seeming to hold people at bay so that he wasn't drowning in unknown faces. As I passed by her, Marjorie gave me a smile, and I felt her perfume reach me, calming me despite its loud scent. Finally, the last step stretched before me, and I suddenly realized that I couldn't hear the crowd's hubbub anymore. The only sound was my heart beating in my temples. Ceremoniously, I knelt in front of the throne that was still forbidden to me. Soon, I had cause to praise whomever had the brilliant idea to place a small cushion under my knees. The blessings were proceeding at an infuriating, slow pace. I listened to them with only half an ear, but I still displayed my most serious and focused face to honor the solemnity of the ceremony. The day before, Robert had asked if I wanted to celebrate traditions by taking the name of one of my predecessors, or if I'd rather start my own dynasty. Keep your name or honor your ancestors. Your reign name will be Melisandria II. Oh, I do kind of like that too, but I'm going to keep my name. I feel like that's what she would do. I understood the importance of tradition, but I was much too proud of who I was to give up my name, my identity. I wanted to carry it with pride as long as I would rule. I didn't know the sermon by heart, but I knew it would soon be ending, since the whole place seemed to grow livelier. With each passing second, both the crowd and Robert's voice vibrated with renewed excitement until the key moment came. I closed my eyes, embraced myself for the weight of the surprisingly light crown that he delicately placed upon my head. Rise up, Azrael the First, de Tyrannfel, Empress of Chaldea, first of her name, Duchess of Tyrannfel, Lady of Vermont, chosen by the Four and blessed by Horel. You shall bow no longer, since from this day and until your death, in the name of the gods, I entrust you with the change of guiding your subjects and making Chaldea shine bright for decades to come. Ooh, I like it. Slowly I rose and turned around to sit on the throne that had been meant for me. Then I opened my eyes to look at the crowd. It suddenly went quiet, and an almost religious silence settled in for a few seconds. Long live Empress Azrael the First! Alexander's voice resounded next to me, oddly loud, and as it shattered this almost dreamlike moment, cheers arose from all sides in a spectacular chaos. The general enthusiasm was contagious, and I caught myself smiling and waving at the crowd with a bit too much vigor. Spring, day 36, evening. The party was in full swing, and if I was still beaming, my head was starting to hurt with the incessant solicitations of people come to pay their respects. You should empty this glass into a flower pot and ask one of the servants to pour you grape juice instead. Or maybe I had too much wine. If I was being honest, I could remember how many times my glass had been refilled, but one thing I knew, it had never stayed empty. Even if Marjorie was probably right, I pouted. Come on, Marjorie, am I not allowed to have a bit of fun? It is my coronation day, after all. She shook her head with a tender smile. You can't do this precisely because it's your coronation day, my sweetheart. Some people might be subtler about it than others, but everyone is watching you and judging you. She was right, and I knew it. I'd let myself relax perhaps a bit too much, carried away by the enthusiasm. That acknowledgement didn't stop me from heaving a deep sigh of despair. Well, I didn't come here to coddle you. I know you're perfectly capable of managing the situation. I just wanted to officially congratulate you. No one deserves this title more than you, and you'll make an incredible empress. Her face sparkled with pride and affection, and I felt my heart melt under her praise. Her opinion had always mattered a lot to me, and I felt myself go back to the little girl I once was, who always sought her approval. I hesitated for an instant, but finally I let myself gently hug her, making sure not to spill my glass on her in the process. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you for everything. She kindly stroked my hair, and I stayed in her embrace for a few moments, just long enough to regain control of my emotions, which were threatening to make me cry. She gently patted my back to remind me of my duties, and I finally let her go, my face now wearing a more neutral expression. Go on, sweetheart. I won't keep you any longer. People are queuing to talk to you. She was right. As much as they tried to hide it, many people stood nearby, waiting for an opportunity to pounce on me as soon as I'd be free. The quickest to mark was a young woman. I'd never seen her before. One look at the pretty dreadlocks she sported, decorated with small golden jewels, told me her background. I like her outfit. It's cute. A magnificent coronation, Your Grace. Her melodious accent convinced me I was right, and I flashed her a courteous smile. Thank you, Lady Asha, are you not? She seemed surprised for a second, then her face lit up. Well, I'm flattered you recognized me before I could even introduce myself. I don't know who spoke of me to you, but I do hope they said good things. She gave a small laugh as if to brush off this pleasantry, which I knew had a much deeper meaning. After all, I had indeed heard a lot about her, both from Queen Maeve, who had warmly recommended her to me, and from Robert, who had tried to paint her as an ungodly heathen and temptress the minute she had set foot in the capital. Of course, your queen keeps showering you with praise. Then allow me to return her kindness and to tell you how fantastic Maeve is. She'll make a formidable ally. Her familiar way of talking about her ruler made me quirk an eyebrow, but I didn't mention it. After all, Isaurian customs were much different from ours, and her relationship with her queen was none of my concern. As long as she didn't use the same casual tone while talking about Chaldean nobility, there would be no issue. In any case, I do hope Chaldea is to your liking, Lady Asha. Unfortunately, I still haven't had the time to visit your beautiful lands and to taste your many specialties, therefore the question may be a bit premature. She gave me a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes, which made me see that her answer was an elegant way to not speak ill of the place without lying. Now that it was my castle and my nation, it did upset me a little, but I couldn't be mad at her for finding the palace a bit drab. My father had never had a keen eye for interior design. I was about to ask her more futile questions when Robert stepped into the space between us. The gesture was overtly rude, but his position allowed him to act in that manner, and I turned away from Asha to listen to what he had to say. Your Majesty, please forgive me for interrupting, but I must speak with you on a topic of utmost importance. He barely hid the dirty look he gave Asha. She understood the message and gracefully curtsied. I'll go breathe some fresh air in the gardens, if you'll excuse me, Your Majesty. I mentally took note of where to find her if I wanted to continue the conversation and bowed to her in lieu of goodbye. Then I focused my attention on Robert, wondering with some trepidation if something bad had happened. What's going on? Don't worry, Your Majesty. Nothing that will spoil your night. I just wanted to make sure that you were taking my warnings about the Isaurian diplomat seriously. I don't find her trustworthy at all. I had to hold back a sigh. It was quite distressing to see him go to such trouble only to interrupt my conversation with a foreign dignitary. Please be comforted. She wasn't inviting me to dance naked in the sea in honor of the snake goddess Sif. I had said that in a playful tone, hoping to lighten the mood, but he looked even more like, you can't joke like that with a priest. Like, maybe the murmur guy, he might find that funny. And then be like, hey, you know what, I'll join you. But Theodore, maybe even Theodore, but not Robert. But he looked even more upset. You should take this issue at heart. These people are insidious. They seem nice, you let your guard down, and by the time you realize you've fallen into the trap of a witch, it's much too late. I didn't have the patience to hear more of this, and I took an offended expression. I wasn't really religious, but that wasn't the point. My faith for the Four was sincere, and I was truly offended. Well, I'm going to go with that. I'd always relied on the gods, and I couldn't tolerate anyone implying that my convictions were unsteady, or that I'm so easily influenced, especially given the importance of the order within Gladia. Shrouded in righteous anger, I gave Robert a withering look. Do you believe my faith could be so easily shaken, High Priest? Taken aback, he immediately softened and apologized profusely. I relaxed in turn. I'm taking note of your worries, and I promise I'll be careful. But you must also understand that you simply cannot say such things about a foreign guest, especially not in public. This could have serious diplomatic consequences. He scowled once more, but didn't say a word, politely bowing instead. I understand, Your Grace. A short silence passed between us before he turned away, mumbling something about prayers he had to make. For the first time of that night, I found myself alone, and no one came to talk to me, perhaps for fear of getting caught in the fallout from the tense conversation. I enjoyed that respite, and decided to go talk to Theodore, Alexander. I like them both, but Theodore for sure. Mr. Grumpy. Oh, I love it. I want to be Mrs. Grumpy. And I love that outfit. It reminds me of the outfit in Dragon Age Veilguard. Is it Lucius? It's been so long since I played it. Because I beat it really quick after it came out, but he was the assassin, and I absolutely loved him. He was my love interest in that one, and that outfit reminds me of it, and I love it. He wasn't hard to spot since he was nonchalantly leaning against a wall in the most deserted corner of the throne room, snubbing the drinks as well as the buffet. A few ladies were oogling him, but they didn't dare come close, and I could understand them. His gloomy face wasn't inviting me to chat with him either, but as Marjorie had reminded me, these kinds of parties weren't meant for my own enjoyment. They were tools of the political game. It mattered to strengthen my bonds with the Faram, and even more, to show the court that our enmity was now in the past. Lost in his thoughts, he didn't seem to see me until I leaned back on the cool marble wall right next to him. This party isn't to your liking, my lord of Faram. If he was surprised, he didn't show it, and he raised his eyes to meet mine before scanning me from head to toe. I'm not particularly fond of these displays of vanity, no. That was certainly a take on things, but it didn't give me much room to react. I grew thoughtful as I considered what I should say, unsure how to communicate with someone this closed off. The idea struck me when I heard the tune of a waltz floating through the air. I immediately straightened up. You should invite me to dance. It was worth it, if only to see his stunned face. In fact, he seemed so shocked that his scowling gnome-like mask disappeared, making him look surprisingly fragile. I beg your pardon. You said it yourself. We're in the middle of a show, and appearances are everything. I can see that you're not willing to chit-chat, but people are watching us. Neither you nor I want the court to think that the crown and the Faram are still at odds. So shall we dance? That is, unless you don't know how to dance, of course. He hesitated, but my last comment seemed to tick him off, and he dryly dusted off his jacket. Oh, he's going to dance the shit out of me. That's what he's about to do. Of course I know how to dance. Well, then prove it. This time I didn't leave him a choice, and I curtsied as if I had just accepted his invitation. He looked at my hand with suspicion, as if simply touching it was going to burn him, but finally he took it and led me a bit farther towards the center of the room, where other guests were already dancing. I was almost surprised to find his fingers pleasantly warm. His behavior was so cold that part of me expected his skin to be freezing, like that of a devilish creature. Out of curiosity as much as out of deference, we were given much more room than necessary, and other couples stepped aside or completely left the floor to observe us. My talents as a dancer were all right, but they weren't extraordinary. I felt nervous despite myself as I tried to keep my head high and my back straight, as dignified as possible. That's hilarious. She tried to get him with the, oh, maybe you can't dance, when we're not really that great at it either. We have to eat our own words. You're suddenly very tense for someone who threw a tantrum to be invited to dance. Of course, he hadn't felt it, and his smile, sincere for once, showed that he had fun teasing me. That made me grumble. Just leave properly, will you? I heard a hint of a laugh while he waited for the right measure and slid into the dance with surprising fluidity. Oh, I like our look. I love this picture. That's great. He was in line. He knew how to dance very well, even, despite his badly positioned hand, a bit too high and not firmly enough to properly lead me. I could anticipate his movements with ease. He was a good guide, and his own gestures were precise and gracious. On the one hand, I was glad that everything was working out, but on the other, it bothered me a little to acknowledge his merits. Compliment him, make him tighten his hold. Oh, we're complimenting. But I knew I must not let my pride dictate my behavior. I was here to strengthen our bonds, after all. Well, it seems you weren't bragging. You're an excellent dancer indeed, Theodore. My compliment seemed to catch him off guard, almost as much as my invitation to dance had. I felt him falter for a second, and he almost lost the perfect rhythm he had led us to so far. You're not so bad yourself. I knew this was the best I'd get out of him, and I smiled while he led me into a slightly stiffer twirl. Neither of us opened our mouths until the last measure played, and we finally separated in an elegant curtsy under scattered applause. Well, I thank you for this moment, Theodore. I won't keep you busy any longer. I see you're having quite some success. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced at the young ladies who had gotten closer and now waved their fans while ostentatiously ogling the Lord of Faram, which is funny because now we made him look approachable, and now they're not going to leave him alone. Perhaps they had more respect for etiquette than I did, since none of them dared to accost him and openly ask for a dance. Still, he sighed and glared at me, apparently holding me responsible for the sudden attention he was receiving. I ruthlessly abandoned him to his admirers and was surprised to see him play the part of the courteous gentleman after all smiles and polite comments. Clearly, I was the only one for whom he refused to make such an effort. Oh, she sounded a little jealous there. Okay, spring, day 37. Your Grace, as you surely know, an essential test that comes with your role as a ruler is to listen to your subjects' petitions. They've accumulated since your father's death and even before. He was never very fond of that duty. Now that you've been crowned, you'll need to dedicate them a fair share of your time. It's especially important because the other advisors and myself have gotten used to lodging petitions on matters that require your attention but do not fit into the council's agenda. I'm ready. Explain it to me. Okay, let's do the tutorial. All of this is very new to me. I won't say no to further explanations. Petitions are matters that require your informed judgment, whether they pertain to trials, grant requests, or other various issues. The other advisors and myself are usually tasked with submitting them, but we may also pass on requests coming directly from your subjects. I divide them into 2 stacks, urgent affairs and current affairs. Of course, urgent affairs must be attended as soon as possible. I've added an exclamation mark to the stack for more clarity. As long as all urgent affairs haven't been dealt with, I won't give you any current affairs so as not to distract you with futile matters. As with everything that requires your input, petitions may necessitate the mobilization of certain resources, but don't forget that they can also offer opportunities. Good decisions can turn out to be quite lucrative. Finally, you must keep in mind that improving the living conditions of your people will ensure their affection for you and, in the long run, will contribute to the realm's prosperity. Is that clear? It all makes sense. No, please repeat. I understand it. And I think it's cool. I want to do this so bad. Perfect. I suggest that you deal with one of mine first. It's an issue that has been on my mind for a while. He took a moment to rummage through the items on the table before handing me a sealed parchment roll. Here you go. Well then, I'll let you study that on your own and go about your business. Feel free to go through more of them so you can grow familiar with the process. You will be informed of their outcome in due time. Okay, so even if the crown is yours, I'd be wary of your bastard brothers. For some, an illegitimate son is far better than a woman, and I wouldn't want the nobility to use this excuse so they can rid you of the first chance they get. I've tasked the Master of Murmurs with investigating them. At the moment, it seems that most of them live a modest life as craftsmen or servants, but the simplest mind can be the easiest to sway, especially since you haven't established any bond with them, which means that nothing will stop them from betraying you. I suggest dealing with the issue in a permanent way. Alden of... I can't. I'm assuming that's our area. I can't read it, though. Okay, you're right. It's best not to take any risk. Though I loathe these methods, I can't risk a civil war or a coup. I've given too much of myself to end up like that, have them assassinated. As long as they haven't done anything to me, I refuse to let paranoia get the best of me and have them assassinated. However, I do recognize that my half-brothers are a threat, and I believe we should definitely keep an eye on them. Assign spies to each of them, and we'll decide how to react if they start plotting against me. I refuse to become a tyrant like my father and to let paranoia trap me in spiral of violence, so I'll take the opposite approach. I'll make them happy, which should ensure that they don't have any desire to take my title from me or cause me harm. Send someone to ask them what they want, and do your best to satisfy their wishes, but make sure they're aware of my role as their patron. I'm just going to try full-on diplomacy. Your Grace, all our spies are in place, and for the moment, they haven't noticed anything suspicious. Following the first report, I've decided to set up increased surveillance around Aaron Vallis, who appears to be having a fling with the daughter of a local lord, and Yancey Licordian, as he is the Count of Viceroy's Court. I'll keep you updated on the situation evolution. Master of Murmurs. So many hard words in this. Okay, so activities, a number of remaining turns, so we can do events. This feature is not available, okay, so we can't do that. We have politics and we have petitions. Okay, so since we get 2, we'll do a petition and then we should be able to do a political one. Good morning, Your Grace. In need of support, I take the liberty of writing to you despite the borders that separate us, hoping that you will not take offense. Following a painful illness, my father, the Grand Duke Edbar de Belarus, recently died. May his soul rest in peace. As his only direct heir, I would normally receive his titles and land, but some cousins of the family have decided otherwise. Since I'm not married, these dear cousins argue that there must be a patriarch for the family to run smoothly. Of course, my father's title and possessions are all they care about, and they have no use for me. I fear I can't protect what's mine from their shenanigans. Your ascension to the throne, despite criticism, is an inspiration to me, and that's why I took the liberty of asking for your help today. I know that Calidia's influence in my country is limited due to the animosity between our 2 nations, but I have no doubt that you're a resourceful woman who will be able to offer me valuable advice if not involve yourself on my behalf. Very respectfully and with my sincere friendship, Lady Alma de Belarius. I mean, it sounds just like our predicament. Okay, so we can tell her, I understand your position too well. It's true that my opinion carries little weight with the administrations of Vargas, but everyone knows how slow your country is administratively. If your cousin's request were to disappear, it would give you much more time to firm up your position. A piece of paper is easily lost, so have faith in your lucky star. Beyond the complex laws of inheritance, it's often those who have the means to assert their right who get what they want. A show of strength will convince the emperor that you are the most suitable person to take over the estate. I'll send you some resources that will help you in the process. I trust you'll return the favor when you've obtained what was rightfully yours. Or this is your free choice. I sympathize with your difficulties. Unfortunately, as you pointed out, I am not welcome in Vargas, so I can only advise you to find a powerful person in your own country to support you. I sincerely hope you succeed in asserting your right. Well, since I didn't take my ascension with force, such as assassinations, I'm going to go with the diplomatic route and say, you know what? If that piece of paper gets lost, it gets lost, and you get time to firm up your position, kind of like what I did. So we'll go with that one. And we got 2 goods from it. Your Grace, I thank you for your wishes of success, as it seems that no missive from my cousins managed to reach His Majesty Justinian III. I went myself to the palace to defend my cause, and since there was no one to contest, my request was accepted. I was able to recover the title and lands that were rightfully mine, and my cousins have now become very kind in hope of scrounging up a few favors. So I will be able to protect my inheritance as my late father wished. As a token of my gratitude, I'm sending you a shipment of marble. I hope it will help you in return. Respectfully, Lady Alma Beralius, Duchess of Belarius. Okay, and let's go ahead and do a political one. Oh, this is where we adjust everything. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone. Let's switch this to crafts since we did farming. We'll keep this the same, keep that the same. Diplomacy the same. And I'll leave this one alone. Spring, day 39, morning. I was truly glad to be Empress now, but as I had expected, I hadn't had a single moment to myself since my coronation. Okay, hold on. Let's see what the different crowns are really quick, because I know that they had mentioned... Oh, wouldn't wear it in that. Okay, so it is just that one. Okay, so we only have one. I was curious if there was like a second one. Assuming it's the same thing here. Okay, yep. I mean, we might get maybe more crowns by completing things. I don't know. There was an endless and continuous stream of people paying their respects to me and of more or less feudal issues to solve. Even if I was happy to finally be able to exercise my power legitimately, I also felt that I needed a break. Thus, after taking care of the most urgent matters, I had decided to take a moment to relax in my bedroom, the gardens, the library. Oh, okay, there. You'll talk to Theodore, Asha, Alexander. Okay, so let's go for Theodore. Even though it is the demo, but we'll pick him for now. I'd always appreciated the serene atmosphere in that place. It seemed like the ideal spot for a break. Well, as long as I didn't get tangled up in books of history. Knowing myself, I was very capable of falling into that trap and staying here until midnight taking notes. It was best if I restrained myself to picking a novel or some poems, even if books or of either sort were scarce. That way I could truly let my thoughts run free. After all, it had been a while since I had last read a good adventure novel, a beautiful love story, an amusing and heartfelt tale. Let's go with a love story. Yes, it had been too long since I had last read a novel full of passion and intrigue, like The Rose of Tyrannfel. How many times had I devoured that book in my younger years before my age forced me into more academic pursuits? I missed it all. The idea of my upcoming read put me in a good mood, but I stopped dead in my tracks when I spotted Theodore engulfed in a book. Ever since we had met, every time we saw each other, I felt his gaze on me, studying me with severity, as if he was Mayrid himself, come to judge me and decide upon my spot in heaven. In fact, I'd gotten so used to seeing his dour and scowling face that I was surprised to find him looking quite serene. In truth, when his features weren't puckered up in sternness, he was rather elegant. For once, he looked at ease, and I didn't have the heart to bother him. Since I had come there myself in search of some peace and quiet, I decided to leave him alone. With all the softness in the world, I tried to close the door behind me, only to hear the blasted thing creak as if I had opened the hatch to hell. Disturbed in his reading, God, he's gonna get mad at us. Disturbed in his reading, Theodore lifted his nose from his book and stared at me, his expression immediately turning to a frown. "Hello, Your Grace." Holding back a sigh, I approached him with a polite smile. "Hello, my Lord of Fareham." Now that I'd been spotted and he had greeted me, I might as well stay and chat. Even if we had found an agreement, I was still wary of Faram's intentions as regarding my throne. It couldn't hurt to learn a bit more about him. The book that fascinated him seemed to offer a perfect topic of conversation, but I couldn't read the letters engraved in the leather from where I stood. "What is this book you're so deep into?" He abruptly closed the book and placed it on his knees in such a way that I absolutely couldn't read the title. "That's none of your business." His attitude was exasperating, but I chose to give him a teasing smile. "Oh, were you by any chance reading a decent book?" Everything in my tone suggested I was joking, but he seemed to take it quite badly and sat upright, his expression upset. "It is very improper of you to suggest such a thing. It's very improper of you to have so little sense of humor. My sense of humor is perfectly intact. So you're questioning my etiquette?" I never said anything of the sort, but what if I did? I took a deep breath and held back the scathing retort about to escape my lips. After all, I was the one who had started this conversation, hoping to smooth our relationship, even if I would have paid good money to see him lose that superior and smug expression he liked to display. "In any case, it makes sense that you'd still have things to learn. You weren't ready for this." He said that nonchalantly, almost sympathetically, and I couldn't tell if he was trying to be friendly or if it was yet another elaborate provocation. In any case, he had managed to rile me up. "I beg your pardon." "You heard me. Stop acting as if you're a powerful heir who can carry the entire nation on her shoulders. I'm not a fool. You've been kept away from the court for half your life. In truth, you don't have the slightest clue of the mess you've gotten yourself into. You've led a privileged life, without any difficulties, away from the plots and issues of your kingdom. Now that your father's dead, you've taken the first chance you had to steal his crown like a vulture. I'm sure the throne was still warm when you decided to sit on it." He wasn't wrong about that last point, but I couldn't tolerate his half-baked insult any longer. "Be careful with your words, Theodore. You're getting dangerously close to royal treason." "My father was assassinated abruptly. I didn't have the luxury to hesitate, and I was only fulfilling my duties." Although I was seething inside, I had to stay firm and make sure not to raise my voice too much, which would only discredit me. "Your father was assassinated because he was greedy for power, because he was cruel, and because over time he had made too many enemies to count. You're his flesh and blood. What could possibly convince me that you're not like him, that you're truly acting out of duty?" Was that the crux of this issue? He'd thought I was like my predecessor. The simple idea of it made me nauseous. "Have you met him, at least? I seriously doubt that. If that were the case, your insolence would have had you thrown in prison on the spot. That you're not in a cell right now should be enough to demonstrate the difference between my father and I. But I imagine it'll be hard for you to believe whatever I say. It's extremely difficult, even impossible, to make someone who's already formed an opinion change their mind. I'll admit I'm disappointed in you. I thought you were an educated man, but clearly you're backwards enough to judge me by the blood that flows through my veins rather than on my actions. As for my privileged life, what do you know of it? You've never been a woman in a world ruled by men, an empress in a world of kings. You're a beloved son, destined from birth to become the head of your family. On the other hand, I've been kept away from my birthright, and I had to fight to get even the tiniest sliver of power, and now you dare tell me I'm privileged?" I'd managed to keep my composure, but anger and sarcasm reverberated powerfully in my voice, and that appeared to shut him up. "I think you're feeling threatened by my rule, but if this can make you feel better, right now I don't intend to waste my energy on people who already have everything, especially not an account of resentments that predate my birth. The changes I make, I will make them for my people, for the farmers who work my lands, for the women and children who forge the future of the empire." Reminding myself of my own convictions had calmed me down a bit, and I felt my body relax while I continued. "I had to fight hard to deserve this. I did what I had to do." I mean, both are good choices. I had to fight. Let's say I did what I had to do. "Think what you like, but I never wanted that crown. I know what it can do to people. Nevertheless, my mother always taught me that as a noble, you have a responsibility towards others, and that's why, when I realized that this was my destiny, I always prepared myself as best I could to take that place with dignity. You think I'm naive, that I believe ruling is easy? Even though wearing the crown still won't stop people like you from questioning my legitimacy? I know it's hard, Theodore, because things have never been easy for me. You clearly know nothing of my life, and yet you don't hesitate to criticize it. Before you presume to tell me I have a lot to learn, you should consider expanding your own knowledge. Even if I had calmed down, I still felt out of breath, and my heart beat too loudly in my chest. Rather proud of the tirade, I was going to gracefully turn around and leave him there, astounded, but he recovered much faster than I had thought. With a peaceful gesture, he put down the book he had been holding on his knee onto the table. Then he got up so he could better take a bow. I may have underestimated the hurdles you've had to overcome and the efforts you had to make. I hadn't expected him to admit he was wrong, rather than attacking me again, and I stayed quiet. Things haven't been easy, as you've implied for me either, Majesty. Life in Exshahir is harder than you think, but I suppose it would be hypocritical of me to act offended now. His tone had softened, but I was still on the defensive. Nonetheless, I tried to make my voice sound as neutral as possible. You suppose right. I believe in hard work, and what is earned through sweat and tears. Even if I'm still unsure of your abilities, you're right. I should at least give you a chance to prove your worth. I'll rule with dignity because that is where lies my duty as the Empress, not because I believe I have something to prove to anyone, especially to you. Of course. Since I didn't want to throw fuel on the fire, I didn't reply, and he bowed before leaving the library, accompanied by the insufferable creaking of the door. Okay, let's do another petition. Your Grace, I've discovered that someone has placed pagan talismans in the palace. One was even found in your living quarters. I do not think that these amulets hold any sort of power, but the intentions are quite real. I cannot bear the thought that someone wishes to curse you. With the Master Murmur's help, we have identified the servant behind these talismans. We have, however, stayed discreet. We will wait your orders before we take action. This could give us an opportunity to learn more about the situation. General Alexander. Okay, I don't want unnecessary bloodshed. Find an excuse to fire her and tell her that she shouldn't come near me in the future. She doesn't want the order to find out about her little secret. So that's the free one. You're right, we can't let this opportunity to gather information pass us by. Keep a discreet eye on her. She might lead us to other pagans, and we might learn more of their intentions towards me. And the other free one is arrest her and interrogate her in the dungeon on her intentions and practices. We're going to go with the diplomatic one. We're actively keeping an eye, so we got a +1 religion. We're actively keeping an eye on Miranda, but for the time being, we have not learned anything. Apart from a few ridiculous and harmless rituals, her life is just as mundane as it is boring, and she does not seem to be meeting with any other pagans or actively working to bring about your downfall, Master of Murmurs. Okay, so it ended up being like a nothing. Maybe it's like a good luck thing. We'll do another petition. Your Grace, the guards have finally caught the thief who'd been looting Astaroth's great fair for a few months now. It turns out that the thief wasn't a man, as we expected, but a woman, and a tough one at that. Despite the trap I laid out, which was perfectly executed, she managed to kill many of our men in her attempt to flee justice. The town guard is very upset, but the Master of Murmurs was swayed by the thief's talents. He'd like for her to be exempt from justice so he can make her one of his agents. Personally, I'm against the idea. This woman isn't trustworthy and she deserves to be punished for her crimes, but the decision is yours to make. General Alexander. Ooh, I mean, that's a good one. I mean, because I get using her. Maybe it would be better for her to be on our side. So we have the Master of Murmurs, knows how to spot rare talents. If he wants to train her, then the girl must truly have potential. We always need good agents to serve the crown. It seems a waste to let her talents rot in a cell. Give a few coins to the families of the deceased. That should be enough to ease their bitterness that the guilty party will escape judgment. The free one is, even if I don't doubt this girl's skill, I wouldn't want to exempt a thief, worse, murderer from justice. The law is unwavering, and I believe it's important we all remember that. She'll be punished for her crimes, and the soul of our dead guards will finally be able to rest. I get this one, but I also get this one. She obviously knows how to get out of bad situations for herself. It could come back to bite us in the butt. You know what? But we're going to go ahead and do it. Your decision is to let me take, so minus on 10 on the people and +5 on influence. Your decision to let me take on Minerva under my wing was wise indeed. She is even more talented than I thought. All she needed was structure and a goal, 2 things that I have provided her. I still have to perfect her training, but I do not doubt for a second that she will be a remarkable asset in the future. Your Grace, Master of Murmurs. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do a politics. Let's switch back to farming to boost up her people because we lost a little bit of that. And we'll leave everything else the same. Okay, spring, day 52, afternoon. The days passed by in a blur, all similar to each other. New petitions to manage, new events to participate in, influential people to flatter. I had never had any illusions. I had always known that my life as the Empress would be mainly paced by paperwork and diplomatic discussions, but sometimes it got a bit much. I knew the decisions I was making could change lives and minds, and I hoped that under my rule, my kingdom would prosper. But I couldn't see the results of my hard work after a mere few weeks. I had to settle for little victories, and sometimes I caught myself hoping for something, anything to disrupt my day. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to be on the cards. Your Grace, would you have a few moments to spare me? Of course I do. Startled out of my daydreaming, I looked at the unfinished letter in front of me and pushed it aside to give my full attention to the Master of Murmurs, who removed his hood after closing the door. Of course, I'm all ears. Today, a wandering caravan came from Vargas was attacked by bandits while they were crossing the Elm Bridge. The merchandise was stolen, the guards were killed, and the people in the caravan are now being held hostage to be ransomed. By the four, that's awful. I was now used to be the one who must find solutions. I immediately started going through them in my mind. That bridge is a strategic location. It should have been better protected. We'll send men over there, and I'll have Marjorie to send hers as well. Her men are close by. They should be able to secure the area and limit the disruptions to that heavily trafficked commercial road. And put a bounty on these bandits. We have to find the hostages and deal with their captors as decisively as possible. Patiently, he let me finish. But as I saw his expression, I realized there was more of it, and I frowned. Is there something in particular that I should know about this caravan, Master of Murmurs? Softly, he nodded. Amongst the captured people is one of my agents, a master of spying and infiltration. He'd been in Vargas for a few months to keep an eye on a family of nobles, and he was urgently coming back with some vital information. Does it have to do with my father's assassination? Do you think Vargas is guilty of it? No, at first glance there's no connection. Your father's assassination is still under investigation, even if I have to admit that at the moment we're somewhat stalled. Then what is this about? That's precisely the issue. I don't know. Apparently it was crucial information. My agent has always been excessively prudent. He feared that his mail might be intercepted, and therefore he was reluctant to send me written information, even if our messages are always coded. So, you're telling me that one of our spies, who infiltrated Vargas, has been captured not far from the border while he was coming back with information of the utmost importance, and that you have no clue what it is. Finally, now that the four had decided to grant my wish of a little more excitement, I started regretting wishing for it in the first place. The situation didn't bode well. That's correct. Like you, I do find this coincidence suspicious, but we can't be sure of anything. If they just wanted to cover their tracks, they could have simply killed him right then and there, as well as the guards. Maybe they just got rid of the body. We can't exclude that possibility, but we received a demand of ransom addresses to his family. Like the other four hostages, I don't know. Well, in any case, we have to clear up the situation quickly. Do we have other agents stationed in Vargas? Who could try to learn what our spy knows? A few, yes, but I'm afraid that they won't be discreet enough, even if they were to approach the same people. The decision is yours to make. Ooh, okay, I know it's dangerous, but we will have to try. It's far too dangerous, we better play it safe. The agents should stay at their current post. Let's try. Very well, Your Majesty. I'll order them to follow the same tracks as the agents, but he had been there for months. I doubt they can obtain quick results. I know, but if this information was crucial, we don't have a choice. We have to try. I understand. And for the bandits, what shall we do? I took the time to think and weigh my options before making a decision. Do we have any information whatsoever on these bandits? If they are who they pretend to be, they've been active all over the territory and always follow this pattern, but we know little about them. For the time being, we have no idea of their whereabouts or who their leader is. Are they trustworthy? I mean, once the ransom has been paid, will they truly release the hostages? So far, yes, they've kept their word. Okay, so for the time being, we have no proof that this was a setup. We have to believe at the very least that our agent is alive. If they'd known for keeping their promises, the best course of action is to pay the ransom without further discussion. We can't continue letting these bandits live on our land, even if they're known for being trustworthy. I absolutely do not trust them, and I don't want to pay ransoms all over the place. Pretend to pay the ransom, but trap them. At least we'll have fewer bandits on our hands if our agent is already dead. And the free one is, I believe that the situation is far too uncertain to engage resources. If it's a trap, we'll lose more lives. And if I refuse to finance these bandits any further, even though it'll cost me, the only thing that we can do is have faith in this agent and his abilities. If he's as talented as you claim, he should be able to give the slip to a handful of bandits. I'm going to pay the ransom. Very well, Majesty. I'll send one of my men to pay the ransom. Let's hope we can trust these bandits. Okay, spring, day 59, afternoon. Your Grace, even if it disgusts me to finance these vile bandits, the ransom has been paid without any issues and we managed to get our agent back. The information that he holds is of crucial importance. You should meet him in person to hear all the details. All I can say is that the situation is serious. Master of Murmurs. Ooh, this is not good. Unable to sleep, I got up to take in a bit of fresh air at the window. As much as I told myself there was no point in speculating before I got the spy's report, I couldn't stop the foreboding I felt. And I was about to be proved right. So everything's going to be fine. Finish the demo of Imperial Grace was the achievement. Okay, thanks for playing Imperial Grace Demo. We hope you had a good time. If you hadn't already, you can join our Discord to follow the creation of the game in real time and talk with the team and the community. Oh, that's cool. Okay, everyone, that was Imperial Grace. Thank you again to the devs for reaching out to me. I absolutely love this game. I can't wait for the full version. I love the fact you can change your outfits, change the look of your character. I mean, it's really neat. And for a visual novel, a lot of visual novels, you're one, stagnant character that gets designed and, you kind of have to be happy with that. This character you can kind of design, after yourself a little bit. Eye color, skin color, how you want your hair to be. I love it. I love the fact that you can also change your outfits as you want. So every day that changed, if you wanted to put on a different daily outfit, you could do that. And, I love the medieval setting. Music was good. I really enjoyed this demo a lot. And I can't wait to see the full version. And I hope you all did as well. So, leave me a comment down below what you felt of Imperial Grace. And I will leave you a link down below. I'm pretty sure the demo is available. But, at least it'll take you to the page and you can wishlist it. But I'm pretty sure the demo is available as well. But, I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see the full game. So please leave me a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Bye.